reports. That's very interesting when you understand the accounting component. So once now I'm glad you got your silver out, and I'm glad you're actually examining the specimens, because you're finna see and hear something that I very rarely get to talk about. So that's why I was hoping everybody was able to definitely get in on that. So I'm glad everybody is following this, because there's something that you're going to recognize immediately. And again, it's like I was telling Brother Calvin, because of the holiday season, understand and overstand the ones that know what you're learning, they're in the same frame of mind. It's just the demographics are a little different. Here's where you're going to find most of your silver at a very deep discount. Like I said, I have exchanges I deal with. Remember, that's on the whole other side of the game. I'm giving you both sides. Just like Brother Rudy just said it, working as a banker, now you got to understand, people who know this, they come every month, like he said, they come and see what's in the drawers. Follow the mainstream media in terms of how they're portraying the silver. Know what you have already learned in terms of the paper to silver ratio, then it's very obvious what one can actually do. Literally, because we're talking about sureties, we're talking about insurance, we're talking about all these things are going to all mesh together in this next paragraph. So you, when you saw the difference between the one and the rest of the denomination, what was the first thing you thought? Right. Exactly. But that's why you were supposed to, and I'm gonna just throw this up for the rest of the trustees that are listening. This is why you want to literally, when you find yourself being pulled or conveyed outside your trust res, you ask for those CTRs, those currency transaction reports. And when they can't be produced, your come from is all these things that you're learning. Because remember, their entire construct is based upon a concept. And again, I keep using you and Brother Rudy and you guys as a perfect example. With Rudy's background in banking, he's giving you an insight of what he dealt with day in and day out in the system and how it's taught. And he's very well versed on currency transaction reports. Now he's getting the other side of what he wasn't taught. And so you're going to learn it was always accounting. And so it will always be accounting. Once you master fundamental concepts of it, you can't prove anything, but you can disprove everything. Which is all you need to technically do in order to bring balance. Because if you, and I'm going to throw this up, hopefully everybody will pick it up. If you took if you went and got $100 bill and then broke it down to ones and then copied, well, when you're an accountant, you have to be accountable. So you have to be accountable for the use of those denominations. So you break into a denomination. If you can only deal with lawful legal money, what are the only denominations that you can technically deal with? That's right. So when it's a transaction saying 50,000, 100,000, they have $100,000 denominations, $500,000. They have $1 million denomination. They have $1 million bills. Are they in circulation? No, they're for commercial use. But notice they're only in commercial use because of the what? The illusion. Because there's only The dollar is the only thing that exists. So your accounting must account for that. So the same way they have the $100 bill in circulation on the Federal Reserve side, that's where your denominations come in, your trustee beneficiary interest. In other words, this is your license. This is your license to monetize, to convert that fiat into lawful legal money. This will be sure. Go ahead. Mm-hmm. Correct. Correct. You're going in the right direction, because remember, when you substantiate how you acquired it and where it went, there's now it's lawful legal money, and then whatever you attach that to becomes part of the ledger. So if you went up in the denomination, let's just say for hypothetical purposes, you deduced it back to $1, and then you had to go to a 10, 20, and 100 for transactional purposes. Well, as long as you have done that level of substantiation, you just repeat the process. It's always been accounting. It's always been accounting. Mm-hmm. 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 Right. Now let's not forget. Right. You're on the right. You're on the right side. So I don't want you to get the cart before the horse, but you're getting ready to get into the deep end of the pool. So get ready. Remember, there's a paper to silver ratio. There's a paper to gold ratio that you can. That this is fractional banking became bad when they just created paper and didn't have the gold to back it. Remember? So if you're going to be fair, you got to make the paper match up. You got to turn that worthless paper into worthful, or paper that has a sustainable value. And only something of substance can give something of substance. You can't come from nothing to have something. You have to come from substance. That's where that's where your melanin. Ooh, did I say that? That's where that's where I'm trying to take you there, brother. I'm trying to get you there. I'm trying to get you there. So you're in the right. Right. That's why ignorance of it is no excuse, because if you can't afford it, this is why the system is not giving the municipalities no more time. Because if you can't afford it, you still supposed to be making every transaction lawful and legal. If you know who you are. Moors, if you know who you are, you're kicking against the prick. You're kicking against the prick. If you know who you are, you're supposed to be collecting a tributary tax. Oh, it's finna get real interesting. When I read this next paragraph, it's finna get real interesting. Real interesting. So that'll work. So hey, everybody's following me. That's what I want. So just ride for a second. Put everybody back on mute. So we're gonna make it do what it do. All right. Here's the next paragraph that I want you to pay attention to. Now, I'm going to give you a piece of this, and then I'm going to go into it. So keep listening, because if you listen long enough, you just might learn something.
For securities, and it's a tax collector and a securities marketing shell, and for all we know, the assets that investors are financing have been transferred out the back door. It's piratization by the just do it method. And as I told you, I said to someone the other day, I said, what is it about secret money for secret private armies that you don't understand? Now let's look at the timing on this. We had Mattis and Kelly use their formidable gravitas and credibility to persuade Congress to give and the public to support massive increases in DoD appropriations. As soon as those appropriations are done, Mattis, who opposed mercenary armies, basically is out. Kelly's out. The person at OMB who engineered FASB 56 is suddenly moved into the chief of staff position. And what's the next thing to happen? Blackwater puts out an ad said, Blackwater is coming. Now, what does this mean? It means you have a backdoor into the U.S. Treasury, and now every mercenary private company worth its salt is generating proposals on how this money can pay them to do something that will generate profits for private corporations, which will generate massive new campaign contributions. So the game can continue through the back door. That's what this means.
Oh man! So basically, Congress and Nancy Pelosi and Congress has the purse strings and all this, and bills have to be ratified in the House and Senate and signed by the president for spending. That's all a show, is what you're saying.
Yes. Which raises the question: why is Trump shutting down the government to get a wall? Because I don't think he needs to. I think the squabble over the wall is about several things, one of which is who controls the trade back and forth, both overt and covertly, on the southern border. With Trump having made what I clearly believe is a deal with the Bushies, this, control of that whole border situation, tight control, will mean you can move a lot out of the hands of New York and California into Texas and sort of the Bushy faction. So I think one thing is, we're talking about who controls those cash flows, and with the economy turning down, controlling those cash flows is more powerful than ever. So that's number one. But the second thing is I absolutely believe that a shutdown gives you the ability to get all the different corporate contractors running the different agencies now with FASB 56 in place to move in and take much tighter control and do re-engineering while the bureaucrats are either upset about not getting paid or staying at home. So I think you're moving, everything I see says the deep state is moving into radical re-engineering on the transactional platform of the U.S. government. I think we ought to talk a little bit about what that looks like. But, we're coming into a period of serious change. And I think the question I have is who controls, and what the message of FASB 56 or any of the deep state moves that you're watching is. This is being controlled very tightly from behind, and it's very much the banking and private interests we've seen all along.
But what about? I just want to come back. What about Trump getting out of the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, getting out of the Paris Climate Accord? Calling the Iran deal, which was never signed. That's a fact. It was never signed. Right. It was a bunch of fraud. Plane loads, according to Dave Janda and his sources, which are pretty high. Plane loads of pallets of money going into Iran. Bribes taken, according to Iranian top advisor who put it on the world Twitter record. We're going to expose the people that took bribes. What about him getting out of all that? Isn't that something good?
Well, I think Trump has done a much better job than I ever expected of keeping his promises. And there's no doubt that he has been leading a reshoring of, a re-engineering of the model the way we've talked about. And I do think there was serious disagreement within the leadership about whether we should keep globalization going or reshore capital and rebuild what I would call sort of the Fortress America plan.
All right, family, here we go. Let's read the remainder of this so we can really drive home this point. Pay attention, because if you listen long enough, you're definitely going to learn something. Okay. Now that I got your attention, now the Federal Reserve doesn't send the real silver dollars out anymore, just the newer fake ones. Because if there's a silver dollar in that drawer, that a customer brought in and exchanged it for $1,